Hello and welcome to Deep Blue Sea, the podcast. I am Mark, fake mermaid Hoffmeyer.
I am Jay. I'm Deepwater Clue, I guess. Welcome aboard Deep Blue Sea, the podcast. On this show, we've been through the entire Deep Blue Sea trilogy, scene by scene, looking at some Deep Blue Sea adjacent films, or, as is the case today, we have a very special guest who has done an article all about 6 deep sea thrillers to watch in preparation for a Renny Harlin film. He's got a film coming out soon, Deepwater, I guess. But Mark, who's joining us today?
Okay, so we have someone who just finished up directing a documentary about the Pink River Wendigo. It's Luiz Coelho. Thank you for joining us.
Hello there. I'm happy to be here.
So how was that documentary about the Pink River Wendigo? I figured since you have ties to Canada and Brazil, I would mash them together. So did you find it? Was the military involved? Did they get sonar? Or did your footage get stolen? Are you okay?
I'm under an NDA, cannot discuss any of that, but when I don't know, I don't know what to say about the Wendigo. Just he's up there.
Yeah. I was trying to think of something to do for Brazil, like because I read about the Pink River dolphin. Maybe you could shoot them, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to combine them. So that would be a really funky creature.
Oh yeah, and the river dolphin. It's a funny thing because the fear factor of it is that he steals your wives.
Yeah.
It's like a national fear of getting cuckolded by monsters in Brazil. And
that's a movie.
We have more than one. It is. I actually sent a script to Trauma with a friend of mine. We incorporated the river dolphin cryptid into it, and it's one of those things that probably will never get made, but I would love to see it.
Listen, start a Kickstarter. I'll send you some money.
Thank
I can
you.
get an associate producer credit on it.
Deal.
Hey, so real quick, if you guys, so we're talking about your article for Bloody Disgusting. I read it. We messaged you immediately. I'm like, we got to get him on the show. But I just want to know, like, if you're making something like Mermaids, The Body Found, what animal, like, so, Animal Planet's like, hey, here's money. Go film whatever you want. Go, like, what creature would you make a found footage mockumentary of, Jay or Louise? Like, what would you do?
I mean, Nessie's the obvious one. I'm going sticking for home ground where I can get to pretty easily. Is like Nessie's the obvious one, but there's got to be documentaries all over the shop about Nessie already.
You just want to kayak on Loch Ness and get paid.
I just want to kayak on Loch Ness.
Is that smart? Is that a crime? Pull an Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Like, I would go to the Isle of Skye and make up like a mermaid there and just hang out at Talisker.
Sure, yeah. Get paid to drink whiskey.
All right, Scottish mermaids. That's mine. Like, what about you, Luis? What would you pick?
It's a very good question, and I was actually reading this book, Abominable Science, about cryptids and like the history of cryptids and why people believe in them and why like most of them are clearly like not real. And there's this really good chapter on sea serpents, and I think that's something we don't see a lot in movies. Like there's a lot of krakens and like some Lovecraftian abominations and stuff like that, like sea serpents, dragons in the ocean, that kind of thing. I would love to put that in the movie, and I think it wouldn't be that difficult to do the effects for, just some humps out in the ocean movie. I would love to do that. I don't know, get some footage from ocean liners and stuff like that. I would love to do a movie like that.
That'd be amazing. I just picture for some reason John Voight's character from Anaconda battling the sea snake.
Perfect.
I mean, he should be in every film, so yeah, of course.
That's a great answer. So yeah, we have the sea serpents, we have Scottish mermaids, and we have Nessie. I like it. So I was reading your article, and it just got me really happy because one, I watched Below and Mermaids: The Body Found for the first time. So thank you for that.
Me too.
And also
awesome.
You just name dropped Underwater, which I love. And then you also talked about Deep Blue Sea, and then talked about your kind of journey with that, watching it all the time when it was on TV growing up. So like, what was your first experience with Deep Blue Sea, and like, like what makes you a Deep Blue Seer?
Oh yeah, well, my family moved to Canada back when I was like 5, and one of the things that we used to do as a family together, since there wasn't the rest of the extended family there, we do these movie nights, like me, my dad, and my mom, and usually my dad would let me choose the movies at the Blockbuster or Rogers Video. If there's any Canadians hearing this, and I saw a big shark on the cover, and I was like, yeah, Deep Blue Sea, and my dad loved it the first time we saw it, and we caught it on TV every single time it was on, and then just one of those movies. And as a kid, I think I associated it a lot with Jurassic Park. It has that kind of vibe of science gone wrong and monsters eating people, but sharks. And I just loved it. And we watched it together all the time. And it's kind of a family movie now. I actually told my dad that I was going to be on this podcast. He was like, "Oh, it's Deep Blue Sea. We should rewatch that." And I was like, "Yeah, definitely." And that is something probably this weekend we're going to do that.
Oh, that's amazing. And it's what's interesting. It's one of those R-rated movies that's not too bloody, and there's not too much like there's the gratuitous scene with Saffron Burrows, but it's still it could be a PG-13 movie if they just made a couple cuts.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not very scary. There's a few tense moments, but it's not like it's no Exorcist. Yeah. It's like you can watch it at a pretty young age. Yeah, the deaths are more fun than scary.
Like in Jurassic Park, children are in danger. This one is just adults getting slaughtered. So it's like, I guess it's an R-rated movie that the family could watch together, and it's not like Natural Born Killers or like Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, no, there was no therapy needed after that. It was totally chill. Although I will admit, like my parents, they became parents very early, so they let me watch some stuff that I clearly should not have been watching. Like I was a fan of Chucky since I was like 4 years old. Like I don't think. Nice. Yeah, like I don't think that's necessarily good for a child. But also, then when I watched Deep Blue Sea, it was just I was rooting for the sharks most of the time, even though I really, really like Thomas Jane. Like always, since the child.
Yeah, the older I get, the more I root for the sharks because they were imprisoned and they were made smart against their will, and they're just trying to escape by hurting humans like dummies and then sink into place, and then they all get blown up.
Yeah, there's an excellent line at the end about what do they think about? Like, what does a giant mako shark think about? And then it's like, oh, freedom. And I know it's like a trailer line, but it's amazing. It gets me every time. Love it.
Like, hey, just let me out of here, y'all. Like, this is not good. Like, you're just using me. You made me too smart. But so McAllister's a good doctor, isn't she? I mean, she like really succeeded. I saw that you wrote about Terminator Salvation for Bloody Disgusting, and I kind of made a joke about how they made an android too well. That, like, it did its job, and it's like, here, man, take my heart. Like they did too good, and I feel like that's what Saffron Burrows or Dr. Susan McAllister did in this movie. It's just like these sharks are good work, like you succeeded.
I mean, they do. They make the thing to cure Alzheimer's essentially.
And it does.
Yeah, technically it worked. I mean, if the facility was more secure, they would have been rich and famous, and the world would be a better place.
Yeah, if Skarsgård hadn't had that cigarette.
Exactly.
That's maybe they should have talked to the sharks. Be like, listen, I'm sorry. We'll get you a nice pad somewhere. You can explore the ocean, but occasionally we need to harvest your brain cells to like cure Alzheimer's. Like, can we make a deal?
You will survive. It's we'll numb the area. It's gonna suck for a little bit, but we're gonna make you this shark utopia.
That'll be a great idea for a sequel. Like those experiments that crazy doctor did it back in the 60s or 70s with dolphins.
No, what are they?
Like there's this. I forgot his name, but this doctor tried to teach dolphins to talk. He wanted to prove that they could talk in actual English, and he hired like a veterinarian to take care of the dolphin. They made this whole house that was half flooded, so the dolphin could coexist with the girl. And it's this really wacky story. The guy was like a new age freak and dropped a lot of acid. There's rumors he wanted to give acid to the dolphin, and it was a whole thing. It went terribly wrong because then the dolphin was very horny, and he would only accept the lessons if I don't know if this can be on the show, but like the girl had to masturbate the dolphin. It's a really, really fucked up story.
I did hear about this. Yes, that's the bit. That's the bit I heard about. Margaret Howe Lovett was her name. I just found it on Wikipedia.
But that'll be a great idea for like a shark movie where it's an intelligent shark. They have to try and live with it, but also it wants to get free. Great idea for a sequel for Deep Blue Sea.
It's like Kelsey Grammer chatting with the shark. Fraser Crane and Shark, and the roommates.
In Deep Blue Sea, it is a family. There's two parents and a child shark.
Exactly.
So this kind of thing may have like Susan McAllister may have had to do this.
I actually haven't seen any of the Deep Blue Sea sequels, but
Whoa.
Okay.
one other thing that I think would be really obvious in a sequel is like they put the sharks in the military. They, I don't know, strap on guns to them or something. That sounds like something they could do.
Battle sharks. Do you want to hear the plot? Jay,
Yeah,
do you want to explain
we
the plot of Deep Blue Sea? Or do you
sure.
want...
So
Okay.
no, I can do it.
Yeah,
So
we
we love 2 and 3. We love them. 2 is made for a much smaller budget, and you can tell. 3 is also pretty low budget, but it's used a lot better. Shall we say? But 2 is basically a remake of Deep Blue Sea, but with bull sharks, and there's one of them is pregnant, and she gives birth. So there's a whole load of baby sharks pinballing around this underwater facility like
Oh, wow.
piranhas. And the main guy, Michael Beach, is the main bad guy in it, and he thinks that robots are going to take over the world. So that's why he's developed these super intelligent bull sharks, and he's got this serum that he's extracted from them, I think, that we called Limitless Juice, because he drinks it a couple of times in the film, and it makes him see the Matrix when he
Oh,
drinks it.
incredible, incredible.
It's an amazing film. It's a lot of fun. We really recommend it. And then 3 is like those, at the end of 2, they don't kill all the sharks. There's just them out there, and the film just kind of ends. But 3 picks up on chasing these bull sharks, and they go to Little Happy, which is this environmental facility, South Africa, I want to say, somewhere in the region of around there. And so there's this environmental facility that's looking after these great white sharks in its reef area, and the bull sharks come up and wreak havoc. And then there's the people that are chasing down the bull sharks may not have the best intentions, and it's the kind of the clash between those two people. And it's great. We had the director John Pogue and Tanya Ramond, the star of that film, on this show to talk about it. And we recommend Deep Sea 2 and 3. They're both great. They're a lot of fun. We've done 21 episodes over the course of both of them, looking at them scene by scene.
He's trying to stop the robot. Yeah, he's trying to stop the robot apocalypse by making bull sharks smarter and creating limitless juice.
Flawless logic.
I forget about that. Whenever I'm not thinking about Deep Sea 2, I just forget about it was about the robot uprising. That's what he was doing.
Like, it could fit in the Terminator world. Like, if you could just insert it into there, and like this guy, call it Skynet, and he's an ex Skynet employee, or Genesis, or Legion, depending on the timeline. And then you just he's like, yeah, I quit, and I'm gonna make these bull sharks smarter to fight the robots because they can't go into the water. I have a theory about all the skulls in Terminator in the post-apocalyptic world. Do you want to hear it?
Go ahead.
Okay, so Skynet left all those skulls out on the battlefields so that when soldiers are running away, there's like more rolling ankle hazards out there.
That sounds like what a machine would think.
So not only are you running away from hunter killers, but you can roll your ankle on like one of billions of skulls just littering the ground.
Yeah, I always assumed it was like a psychic warfare thing where you'd be demoralized by seeing your fellow humans as a safety hazard on the floor. But yeah, they have treadmills, right? They have tanks and stuff, so they don't have to worry about that.
Skulls, no problem to them.
Yeah, and they squish the skulls when they step on them. Like Michael Biehn is, but like Kyle Reese is running, he's gonna roll an ankle. I would. I watch it and my ankle hurts. So that's my thing. But yeah, you should absolutely watch those two because
I will.
I didn't like 2 at first. I had to get over myself. And then eventually I was like, this movie is incredible. It's So, real quick question, Jay, and I want to, and like Jay and Louise, like, what do you guys think is the second best shark movie ever made? So, Jaws is the best. What do you think is the second best? It's Deep Blue Sea, right?
Yeah, definitely. For me, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because I don't like asking what's the best because people just say Jaws.
I mean, I've said before, I prefer Deep Blue Sea.
What's the third best shark movie?
Ooh.
So I did a letterbox ranking of this the other day of shark movies. So I thought this feels like something I should have, and I can't remember what I put as third.
It's got to be.
I'm gonna go check.
For me, it's got to be
Life Aquatic.
Oh, Life Aquatic.
Life Aquatic, I had third, but I mean that's like it's kind of a shark movie, like actual shark movie. Yeah, there's a shark in it. Actually, if we're going for there's a shark in it, then my number one is Finding Nemo. But that's not what we're talking about. So the Shallows is what I have currently in fourth place. So that would be like the shark movie that's third would be The Shallows.
Yeah, I think that's the third one for me.
Yeah.
The Shallows.
That or Jaws 2,
And-
maybe, but I would still put Shallows ahead of it.
Well, next on my list is Deep Sea 3. So,
Oh, nice.
uh,
Like Jaws 2 gets pretty mean. That scene where that
Yeah.
nice lady gets murdered when she helps that kid up on the boat. Like
It's
that's
a top 10.
harrowing.
It's top 10.
Nice. Yeah, but Shallows is good. That movie works.
Jaws 2 is
It
below
does.
Santa Jaws.
You know what? I like that
Jaws is
shark.
great.
I like that shark in the Shallows because it's just the biggest jerk. Like it's like they're not even trying to open water it. Like this thing is just an a-hole and it just wants to kill people.
Yeah, it's almost a slasher at that point.
Yeah. Do you think like Deep Blue Sea is a little slashery? Like you're I was reading through
definitely.
your list and like it's very much so like the shark is waiting for her to destroy her stuff. There's a kitchen thing. Like it's very it's very slasher-esque. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely, because since they're intelligent, they're not just monsters. The sharks are basically characters in a movie. So, and they're stalking them around. They're like Michael Myers in a swimsuit, basically.
Whoa.
There's the one that's hunting down Preacher. There's the one lying in wait for Susan. They're definitely as a trio of slashers. It's the Strangers. This is where Renny came from.
Yes.
Definitely,
Like they sneak into the kitchen in that one scene when she's in the kitchen and the dude's in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And the sequel has the swimming pool scene, which is like an all-timer water battle.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that. That makes me wait. What kind of bathing suit would Michael Myers wear?
Well, he already likes wearing a onesie, a mechanic's jumpsuit, right? So something bluish like that. I don't know.
Like
what
those old school ones.
Swimming?
Like those old school ones where like they go over your shoulders and like they're kind of sleeveless, but then like it's a one piece. I guess I could see him wearing that. Does he wear the mask?
So not like a mankini, like a Borat kind of thing. I'm assuming. I'm hoping.
Like a man? No. I mean, but why not? I mean, Halloween H2O. I thought we were going to get a bathing suit, like swimming pool scene, but we never got one.
But made from the really thick, like overall material, for just a real like an overall mankini, basically.
Like the Minions, but like a man.
Sure. Yes, absolutely. It's dungarees, basically.
My only problem with H2O is that it's just really water light.
Yeah, it's definitely misleading advertising.
I will say I love the idea of Michael Myers driving from Illinois to California because he had to fill up his gas tank. I did the math. I did like a data post. I think he has to fill up gas like 7 times. Like that's what I want to watch. Like enough with Laurie. I want to see him filling up a gas tank.
You want the real time road trip of Michael Myers?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, he probably killed people on the way, right? We don't hear about them because we always focus on Laurie, but there's got to be a movie in that somewhere.
Like I want it to be like a Thelma and Louise thing where like he kills someone at a gas station at a motel. It's like the Devil's Rejects. And then he gets caught and then he just like drives off a cliff and lands on Laurie's house.
a road trip slasher. That actually sounds great.
Oh, it's like the Hitcher, but with Michael Myers.
And he has a goal in mind. He has a victim at the end. I don't know, it's a good motivation.
He keeps seeing people he thinks are Laurie. Oh, that looks like her. It's a haircut. Oh, that wasn't her. Damn. Keep going. And over there. No, another one. Damn. It's just for a really long way.
I just want to see him use his blinker. Or just like signal. I want to see him signal. Like get in the fast lane. I want to hear him have road rage. Like, look at this car in the fast lane. He's just driving. Like, does he listen to music? I know this is not Deep Blue Sea, but it's questions I ask that I feel like are important.
Yeah, no, it's the logistics of it. I mean, he learned to drive by watching movies, or when he was a kid, did his dad like pick him up and take him into the car and be like, "Oh, this is how it works," and he can only drive an automatic, right? I don't think he would have learned how to drive stick.
That'd be hilarious if the nurse in H2O had a manual and he's like
just gear grinding all the way.
I can't get it in third. It's the stupid car. Like, no, you missed it.
You push down and back to reverse. You don't lift it up. Push down.
I mean, he does get a flat tire and doesn't know how to fix it. So, because then he has to steal another car. See, that's what I want to know. Didn't we come up with like a road trip, Jay? Because
Yeah, because they talk about how the shark goes to Baja. Because it's got the number plate in its mouth, and they say it escaped from a fish tank, and then we say it stole a truck and filled the truck with water, and this shark just drove from one to the other.
oh gosh, so
Good times.
how are you excited? Like, so when you're putting together your list, like there's a decent amount of deep water films, and obviously you can't do 43. So like, how do you narrow it down to 6? And like, did you pick some because you wanted to promote them more and get people like me and Jay to watch them, or like what was the rationale behind your deep list?
Yeah, definitely. I always choose at least two that are some more obscure movies that I think more people should watch. Then there's always the basic, like most famous one that if you don't put on the list, people are going to crucify you for it. And I generally do like top 6 because I think with a top 10, there's not enough time to actually talk a little bit about the movies. And I don't know, 6 is an evil number. I watched The New Omen recently, and Number of the Beast.
Is that good? I need to watch it.
It's very, very well directed, way more than the script deserved.
Cool. It looks good. And that Nell Tiger Free, I like her.
She's amazing in it.
Yeah, that movie just looks good. I'll rent it. I've been busy. But yeah, so you're like, if you can't leave out The Abyss, right? So I've had to write, I used to write anniversary pieces and I would just do 5 reasons. Like it seemed like 5, but I kind of like 6. It gives you a little bit more room to play. So you pick 6 and then like you add 2 that people should watch. I dig that. That's cool. And it worked for Jay and I.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'd never heard of Mermaids: The Body Found, and it's an interesting film.
Oh yeah. I actually watched it the first time with my ex's father, and he believed everything in it. He was shocked the whole way, and I didn't have the heart to tell him like, "Oh, come on, there's CGI in those found footage videos." But it's so entertaining.
Yeah, it is, and I've never watched a sincere fake documentary. Like, I've seen mockumentaries. I've seen like documentaries that are comedic, like Anvil. The story of Anvil is like real tongue in cheek kind of thing. But just watching a serious fake documentary, they committed. The lengths they went to. I understand why people were duped by it. I mean, it
had a sequel.
Yeah.
More mermaids.
It started a franchise essentially.
Yeah, no, it's amazing because it could have been an actual movie. They could have like added a third act there where they send a team to investigate to get attacked by the mermaids. It could have easily been that, but they just commit to the bit. And there's actually another one that they make, I think, later on about a shark named Submarine, which tricked even more people. And that one was like the most realistic one they had, which is it's about a giant possible megalodon that's eating other sharks in the ocean. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's not as absurd as the Mermaids one, so it's less entertaining, but it's so convincing.
I think I'm not going to say it's punk rock, but they just played it so straight. Like I'm big on bits. Like I think Jay's probably sick of them after like years of dealing with them.
Love them.
But I love the committing to a bit. Like I've committed to Deep Blue Sea for 20 some years now. And just watching them, the only thing that threw me off, and I wish I wouldn't have known that it was a mockumentary going into it, because the only thing that I would have liked to have known is the actors have very strategic ums. Like I don't like the ums in it. That's the only, maybe it's the actors doing it, but the ums placed in there. I know why they did it, but I want to, if I could go back into, the only reason I would create a time travel machine is to go back and watch it for the first time. Like there'd be no butterfly effect. You wrote about that as well, right? So I did. There would be no butterfly effect. I would just be me watching that and not knowing that it was a mockumentary, because I would like to have known. I probably would have, but I just don't like the ums. But that's a very small nitpick for a very successful mockumentary.
I don't actually think it's that small. I went to film school and my thesis was on found footage. And one of the things that I discuss in that is I think it's better for a found footage film to not have a complete script to let the actors naturally speak, because you can always tell the difference when someone is acting or when they're just saying whatever comes to mind, even if they're being directed to say it. And it's the difference between, like, there are plenty of fake out documentaries out there. Like there's that series, Mountain Monsters, and they always interview random people and they like give them some guidance on what to say, but they don't give them a script. And that's why it just, it sounds like real people saying the most absurd you've ever heard. And I think they should have done that with the Mermaids one. Like you can tell that, and the actors aren't necessarily bad. It's just like they're clearly reading something that someone else wrote.
Absolutely, and sticking with it, right? Because you could every I could feel. Jay, did you feel that or no?
I did. I could. I mean, no offense to the actors, I could tell they were actors. Like it just, like, I didn't. I wasn't taken in by that at all. But I went in knowing it was a fake documentary, so I guess I could assume already. But yeah, it did feel too prepared. I do like your approach that it should have been like pitched. Like this is the overall, like an improv scene, like a episode of Curb. Like you can say this is where the scene's going to start and going to end, but you can do what you want along the way. You know what I mean? That's how it should have been.
I feel like Blair Witch Project kind of did that right, like where they, hey, you're in the woods and you have a basic thing to do, but you're going to do a lot of the heavy lifting on your own and create this, and that's why it feels so natural. Like that came out in '99 too, and I remember watching that at the movie theater I worked at 2 a.m. and I left shell shocked after it because it felt so natural, and the way they marketed it was brilliant as well. But I think the way they marketed this was pretty great because they just dropped it.
Yeah, it was. Here you go, another documentary on the Animal Planet. You wouldn't expect the Animal Planet to drop the new Blair Witch, so
yeah,
it just seems mean.
And the sonar is good. I mean, that movie that came out, The Mermaid, which is the second film to go for the Hoffmeyer 3, features a jet ski action scene, a catapult, and a sea creature. But yeah, like they have sonar. Like sonar is killing the mermaids in that. So then you go back to 2011 and the sonar that beaches the whales. You're like, oh, maybe if something else was in the water, that could get beached. So it's like very ingenious how they did it. And they've learned clearly, right? Like his stuff has gotten better. Director, Sid Bennett, his stuff has gotten better, right? That's cool. Have you watched the Dinosaur Project?
Waterworld is the other one. Waterworld is the other one. That's off my head. Just for the listeners.
I was sitting there last night and I was like, does Tomb Raider, the second Tomb Raider with Jolie, go 3 for 3? But it just goes 2 for 3. Just one. She punches a shark and rides a jet ski. Oh, like she does some flips on it. So I give it an action scene. But there's no catapults. So I was kind of bummed. I couldn't add a third movie to it. But no, I don't know. But then I started reading about the other movies, and then there's a lot of articles out there that are just kind of like, I will never trust Animal Planet again. And I guess what's interesting about reality is I worked on a reality television show. I worked in the industry for many years, and like it's fake as hell. Like I had to carry a dead alligator around. We were in the like I had to put on branches to get B-roll, like a dead alligator. They got a Western rattlesnake, but we needed an Eastern one. They're like, whatever, we'll just chop its head off and make a little water thing out of. Like they like, I had to carry that around, and it's so set up. So like you watch reality, and a lot of it is not reality. So I guess it's kind of fun to watch something that's just we're not going to tell anybody. We're going to put this on, and it's completely fake but I guess like the anger about it, I guess going into a reality show, that there's a lot of problems that are made up, it's like very fabricated. So it's not that it's totally unreal, but so are most reality shows is what I'm saying. So I don't think I think it's a dubious to just dump it on there. But like, I think I don't know. At least it's not I don't know. I don't see it being too different from some of these really fabricated reality shows, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference between a hoax, like a malicious hoax, when you're trying to trick someone to, I don't know, make up their mind about something they wouldn't do otherwise or something like that, and just having fun. And this is clearly something that's having fun. It's mermaids. It's not it's not the end of the world if mermaids aren't real.
Man, Jay, it's just, I don't know. I love it. I love this made it and dropped it, and then a lot of people out there were like, "Holy crap!" It just makes me very happy.
Mermaids, I told you.
I knew it. So I grew up in Weeki Wachis in Florida, so I knew that mermaids existed. They just breathed out of like little but hoses that went into the water and they could breathe out of that. But it's so they exist. But it's cool to watch, and I'm glad I found that on your list. And I'm also really happy. Jay, I don't know if you've done this, but like I've seen the poster for Below many times, but I've never watched
I'd
it.
never even heard of Below. Below is completely new to me. So we've done episodes on the rest of this. We've done episodes on Sphere and Underwater, Deep Sea, obviously, and the Abyss. But Below had never even crossed my radar. And I've discussed in a recent episode, I don't like submarine films, just as a rule. They don't appeal to me. I find them boring. I really liked Below because it turns out the way to make a submarine film is you put a ghost in it. And I will watch that all day. So I really I love the cast. I liked everything that happened in it. Yeah, we're probably going to do an episode on it at some point now, just because it exists on my radar, like on my sonar. So yeah, Below is
exists on your sonar.
Thank you for the recommendation.
Oh, no problem.
Really
but to be fair, I mean, most genres are improved by including a ghost, some form of ghost in the story.
Sure, yeah. I mean, Ghost Ship is a film I really enjoy and was written by John Poe, who directed Deep Sea 3.
What a great opening kill. Ghost Ship is the most aggressively early 2000s movie ever made, and I love it for it.
I love it so much.
Oh, that opening kill. But so like this, it's like Louis, like David Twohy or David Twohy as a director, what do you think about him in general? He's done Perfect Getaway. He has done, Riddick, Pitch Black,
the Riddick trilogy.
The Riddick films. Like he's a guy who
I didn't remember
he wrote The Fugitive.
Yeah, The Arrival. Yeah. His movies have a
rent
very,
that one all the time.
like his movies have like a very what's the good word for it, Jay? Like they're just all good. Like there's no
they're solid. They're like
they're fun. They're fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mark, he wrote Waterworld.
Yeah.
Well, the man's a genius,
Yeah.
Waterworld.
Unimpeachable.
I mean, Mad Max on water in Hawaii.
With catapults.
Yeah. Like catapults. Jet skis.
Like to me, Waterworld is canonical to the Mad Max universe. It's just the other side of the planet where there's just water.
That's where the water went.
Exactly.
Went to water.
When the earth just slanted from all the war.
Yeah.
Like it just kind of
exactly.
And then interesting. I see it.
But yeah, I enjoy how his movies, the way he uses CGI is the way like some directors from the 50s would use fake backdrops and matte paintings where they're not trying to trick you. Like the monsters in Pitch Black, he's not trying to convince you that thing is actually there. It's more like a cartoon, and it works. I think it works. And and relying on the actors to react to things, especially Charlie Sheen in The Arrival, like the aliens and that. Now that I saw the poster again, remember they had those weird little legs, and I love it.
Yeah, he's just. I think he keeps it kind of simple too. Submarine, like he keeps it sort of high concept, but not like it's a World War II submarine movie with ghosts. It's pitch black. People are stranded on a planet. All the lights go out. Monsters come out. Like Perfect Getaway. People on the loose. Who is it? Like he starts with a neat high concept idea. He does some really good casting, efficient camera work, and then like I don't know, like all the acting is just strong in his movies because he writes as well. But I just think he's carved an interesting niche in the industry by just making good movies. Like I don't think any of them have blown up, but I don't think I've ever watched one of his movies and been like, I wasn't too into it. Like I really,
I think Pitch Black is his most like popular, shall we say, and the Chronicles of Riddick maybe got away from it a little bit. That's the one that's the most convoluted. I can't remember the plot. I've seen it at least twice, and I don't know the plot of that one. I can't remember, but he bought it all back for Riddick. I freaking loved. So he bought it all back for Vin Diesel and a dog on an alien planet for an hour and a half. Great, sign me up. More of this, please. And Dave Bautista, great.
Yeah, like body slam. Like someone gets body slammed in that by Bautista. Like it's incredible. And he has to fight like a mud lizard for the first third of the movie. Vin Diesel. Like then the entire beginning of that film is him fighting a monster because he has to get past a cave. Like, give me more of these movies. Make that the whole movie. Yeah, do that. That'd be great. But no, I don't know. So what about Below? Kind of made you want to make it to put it on the list? Like, what it's kind of has it stuck with you over the years, or what?
Yeah, the general premise of it is enough to Like it stays in your head, you know, like the claustrophobic space and undead stuff. And I actually do enjoy submarine movies. I think it's a cool setting, and it's also very easy to fake setting, so you can tell some pretty big stories cheaply with it, and I
Mhm.
admire that. And I don't, I guess I do like that genre, the idea of the genre fusion of something so like a classic war movie idea, and then you add something horrific to it. That's the kind of movie I would like to make.
Oh, so like
And
Overlord below, that's kind of right up
yes, yes.
your.
Mhm.
Oh man, there's a
Yeah,
great grenade bit in Overlord, that's for sure.
definitely. Oh, yeah, I have a theory that if you join Overlord with I think it's Frankenstein's Army, the found footage one. If you made
Ooh,
that the same movie, where one movie is the first half, the other movie is the second half, and that's the same movie, it would be the perfect horror movie.
I've never watched that, so it just got added to the list.
Yep, same.
It's not necessarily good. It's just very fun, and it makes the most out of the premise of Frankenstein is making Nazi monsters, and sometimes that's all you need.
I get Nazi
Not necessarily good
exploitation.
as our bread and butter, so that's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. Nazi plus exploitation is a popular subgenre, so it works for
Yes.
sure. Like Jay, what kind of drew you into Below since you don't like sub movies? Like you were
I
down
think it
with this
was
movie.
sure was. I think it was just like the horror aspect because my problem with submarine films is I've said before it's just people shouting at each other over the phone, but they happen to be in a box underwater,
And listening for
and I
things.
just yeah. I just get bored of that pretty quickly. I need to. I've never seen a bunch of the bigger ones. I've seen Hunt for October. It wasn't that fast. I've not seen that many, so we're gonna cover more on this show. I've been told to watch Crimson Tide. I'm gonna watch
Oh
Crimson Tide,
yeah.
but this one it's just that horror element, and the cast is great. The cast is always great for submarine films. I don't know what it is about them. They always people always seem to love working on them, but I like Dexter Fletcher. I love Jason Fleming. I love Christopher Fairbank. These are all like British
Mhm.
actors who I'll watch in anything. Olivia Williams is great. Nick Chinland, our boy from Con Air,
Yep.
is there. I didn't even recognize him for a
Me
while,
neither. Yeah.
and there's this gravelly voice is familiar to me, but not with a shaved head. And it was a little while that clicked in. Oh my God, it's Betty Bedlam. He's back. So yeah, I like the and Holt McCallany is fantastic. So yeah, it's the horror aspect, it's the character actor filled cast. I think it's a ghost on a submarine, you know. Like, it's that premise
Exactly.
of like this is
With a great
fantastic.
cast. Like
Yeah,
they sell it too. And it's good dialogue. You know,
it
they'll
is.
keep
There's maybe too many derogatory terms for women in like the opening 5 minutes, I think.
yeah.
And then one of the people, I won't spoil it for people who haven't seen it, but one of the people that survives is the least likely person you'd expect to survive this kind of film, I would say. They should have died in the first half an hour. And the fact they survived, I found was incredible. So that it kept me guessing as to who was going to make it out of it. And Zach Galifianakis is in it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just not wasn't expecting. Like, wait a minute, what is this film? So yeah, I was so happy to have seen it.
And speaking of submarine films, are you guys aware of the video game, the indie video game that's going to get turned into a movie, Iron Lung,
No,
called
I
The
haven't.
Submarine? It's a really cool game where you're trapped inside of a submarine. It's like you're a prisoner, and they do experiments by putting prisoners inside of submarines in other planets, and you have to explore an ocean of blood, and that's getting turned into a movie. And I like the idea, like it's just going to be one actor inside of a metal box the entire movie. Because in the game, you don't actually, there's no windows in the submarine. You only use the sonar, and you take external pictures, and you look at them. And I like how limiting that is. I think it's a great idea for a movie. And that's another thing about Below that I appreciate is I don't know, it's subtle sometimes, but it's still fun. And the idea of having all the character actors, so I think it needs that, right? Because if it's just going to be that bunch of people inside of an enclosed space, it needs that and the dialogue to work. But yeah, I just remember that the Iron Lung movie is coming out, and I'm excited for it. I like submarines, but I prefer it if they're scary. So yeah.
Put like Melanie Laurent or Ryan Reynolds in it because they've already done similar films.
Yeah, it sounds very
I'll take
Oxygen,
that.
doesn't it?
So
Yeah.
I'm glad you finally explained Iron Lung to me because I write for some channels called Game Theory and Film Theory. and they've talked about that a lot, and I never had any clue what it was. So now I kind of want to look it up because it sounds fun.
Oh, it's pretty cool, but it's a short experience. Like it takes about the time it would take to watch a movie to play the whole thing. That's actually why I liked it. It knows when to stop, which I guess the movie should as well.
Nice. And then I noticed you wrote an article about backrooms inspired type films, so that was kind of cool to see. That guy's those videos blew up on YouTube.
Oh, they did. They did. You know, just my nephews adore like backroom stuff, and then I like to impress them with how I'm still a cool guy. I still know about these things that young people like.
They look like Steve Buscemi from the SNL skit.
Exactly.
Yeah. I got tasked with figuring out how to survive the backrooms from film theory. So I had to write an episode about that. And I knew nothing about backrooms. And then I got pretty immersed in that. So it was I wrote that episode. That's my only video to get over 10 million views, Jay.
Oh, incredible.
My Elmo ones has 9.7.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. But
it's getting there almost.
Yeah.
Listeners, go and watch it.
I'm like the guy
views.
who writes videos about surviving things, but I don't do them from like get a rocket launcher. I try to use like science, like Quiet Place. You want to live in a warmer atmosphere than colder because sound travels farther in the cold, like that kind of stuff. So I got to do surviving xenomorphs next, so that'll be fun.
Oh wow!
Which means I get paid to watch alien movies again and take notes. So I'm pretty happy about that. And then also, one thing I'm really curious about is, like Jay and I both like underwater a lot, but in 2020, it came out at like the worst possible time. There was like that merger. It was COVID. It got pegged as like this alien knockoff. Kristen Stewart had some backlash, but underwater is awesome. And I think it's finally getting realized. People are finally kind of realizing like, hey, this movie is awesome. So like, how do you, how do you feel about that? How have you watched that? Have you like the evolution of it since it came out? Like, have you enjoyed people realizing that's good?
Yeah, I feel vindicated because I saw it the weekend it came out, and it was by chance. Like I had a friend visiting who was in love with Kristen Stewart, and like she basically dragged us to the theater. And I was like, hey, even if it's an alien knockoff, it's still an alien knockoff, right? It can't be that bad. And wow, I adored it. The whole Lovecraftian thing. I think there are very few movies that take it to the extreme Lovecraftian visuals at the end. Like there's a lot of movies with subtle Lovecraft elements in them, but that one just, not going to spoil the ending, but yeah, I love it. And I like some details about the film. I actually bought the Blu-ray and I watched all the behind the scenes stuff, like how they did the armors practically, and they decided to shoot the film dry for wet, so they could still capture all the performances with the real armor and have it instead of just having them be floating faces inside of it. I don't know. I just appreciate a lot of the craftsmanship there, and I don't really mind that it's not R-rated, even though I think it would be amazing if it was.
Wait, it's not R-rated?
I don't think so.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it wasn't.
That's like a Dark Knight or a Barb and Star. I just assume that they are R-rated. Within their PG-13. Barb and Star almost does 3 for 3, Jay, but there's no catapult. I just want to let you know that.
So underwater is a 15 in the UK, but a PG-13 in the States.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it gets away with a lot.
What'd you think about it, Jay? Like when you weren't into it the first time you watched it, right? And then you kind of
first time I watched it, I hated it. I don't know what it was. I think I was just in a bad mood, and I watched it, and I just thought this is awful. And then when we actually covered it for the podcast, I actually paid attention to it and I watched it. And I think that first time around, I was just doing something else. It was just on. Paid attention to it and I loved it. It was great. I came around to it. That's one of my biggest hairpin turns from not liking a film to liking a film is Underwater. I'm here for it now. It's great. I've never understood people have a problem with Kristen Stewart. But then I haven't really seen the Twilight films, which is where people seem to have a problem with her. So I think she's great in this.
Yeah, and it starts so fast, right? It just goes. You have no time.
Yeah, she's just cleaning her teeth, and then her whole world blows up around her.
Okay. Every movie needs to feature this, guys. What do you think? Okay, the beginning of the movie, someone's cleaning their teeth, and then the action starts immediately, and then there's also a ghost
underwater. Yeah,
like
all films must be underwater.
How horrible would that have been if there's a ghost in underwater as well?
I don't think it would have made things any worse. To be honest, I feel like it was already bad enough because it's already a pretty dire situation, and just having ghosts be like, okay, this isn't going to change how we act We're just going to keep going. There's nothing we can do to counteract ghosts in this situation, so we're not going to. Let's just ignore it.
In any situation,
Problem for
if
another
you're going
day.
to discover that ghosts exist, it might be an underwater because you're like, I'm too busy. Like this isn't like the others, or you're not like in a Victorian house where you have nothing better to do. Like you're like, all right, guys, like if you're with me or against me, like let's go. I think the Mission Impossible movies need ghosts too, because there's always problems on problems in that
I
world.
mean, there's Ghost Protocol. It's very example.
Oh gosh. All right, so
They need rogues as well.
oh yeah, sure. So before we get out of here, Luis, like, are there any movies you'd like to recommend? What have you watched lately? Do you want to talk about your Twitter, your writing, like anything you want to talk about?
All right, recommendations. Let's see. Yeah, I would recommend Shark of Darkness, Wrath of Submarine, the mockumentary that's like the same spirit as the Mermaids, the Body Found. And
Perfect.
It's a great title, and basically a giant found footage movie about sharks.
I love it. And then where can people find you on the socials?
Yeah, I'm at Optilus on Twitter, Instagram, all the websites. And yeah, you can follow my stuff at Bloody Disgusting. Every week there's something new up there. And yeah, I think that's it.
I was reading through your list and it made me happy. Like, you have one about Tusk, and I was like, yes, I love Tusk. A24 movie.
It is. It's an A24 movie, and they have yet to release a special edition of that one, like on physical media, which bothers me.
Yeah, that's I had to watch the documentary on YouTube, Tusk, yes, to do that. Yeah, so they haven't. It's interesting. I watched that movie when I bought my house. I signed my house on the day I went and watched Tusk, so I feel like they're tied together. That and Justin Long becomes a walrus who fights Bray Park. Is that it? I think so. What's his name?
Michael Parks. Michael Parks.
I was talking about Darth Maul. That was the wrong name. But hey, thank you so much for joining us. We'll make sure to put all your stuff in the socials, and like, your list was great. And now you've opened up my world to more deep movies, and I'm very thankful for that.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that, and I'm happy to have been a part of this. It's a great podcast. I was actually listening to that episode about the SS Indianapolis, and I had not seen that movie.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to go after that immediately.
It flummoxes me. I still have trouble talking about it. Like, that's like a.
It should have been better.
That's not it. Yeah, there it is.
It's such an obvious idea, right?
Yeah, it's just, but it does. It's like,
Yeah.
This is like me during the episode again. I just freeze because I'm trying to explain my thoughts about it. But yeah, that's an odd one right there. But well, Luis, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, anytime. And yeah, watch out for super intelligent sharks out there.
Or dolphins in your home.
That's to live by.
I want a tiger shark in my house. It's been a theme of on our show for a long time. So I might avoid that now because I don't want to run into those problems.
Yeah, on the internet, no one knows that you're a super intelligent mako shark.
Well, on that note, next week on the show, Shark Tale is what we're covering. A very different film than we've been talking about this week. But we had to cover it one day, and it's next week. So come back then for Shark Tale. But as for this show, I've been Jake Lewitt.
Mark Hoffmeyer.
And we'll Deep Blue see you next week.
See ya.